This is your daily dose of all things royal. Welcome back, my gorgeous, good-looking friends. I'm not gonna lie, but I'm exhausted. I feel like I'm the only one who is making this connection, and nobody seems to care. The Foundation for Freedom Online, 5 days ago, posted this very lengthy article about 5Rights Foundation with the headline, "The British Campaign Group Exporting Digital ID to America." Now, didn't I talk about this a few days ago in this video, as well as many other videos, raising the alarm bells, showing everybody how this son of the king has been over here in the United States heavily aligned with the very same groups that are now getting called out? Like, I really want to know, why is no one, aside from myself, being the one calling this out? I want to go through and show you what the Foundation for Freedom Online has to say about this, because it is serious. They write, "A British campaign group founded by a member of the House of Lords has quietly become one of the leading forces behind efforts to introduce online age verification systems across the United States." Yes, and who is a part of this effort? That would be Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. The 5Rights Foundation, founded by Beeben Kidron, has spent more than a decade campaigning to force ID checks on technology companies. Kidron is a non-party aligned member, crossbencher, of Britain's House of Lords, the appointed upper house of the national legislature. The foundation's influence is already deeply embedded in Britain. Kidron was instrumental in creating the UK's age-appropriate design code, while 5Rights has campaigned heavily around the Online Safety Act and now describes Britain as a key testing ground for policy innovation and implementation. The organization is now exporting that model abroad. Like, where have people been, as this has been going on for a few years now? 5Rights says that it is leading the charge on children's online regulation in the United States and openly acknowledges that it sponsored California's age-appropriate design code in 2022. Its Kids Code Coalition is now active in 16 states. Like, this is so maddening that this is happening. Had people been paying attention to what Harry and Meghan were doing on the down low, this could have been stopped. Now, if you've been following this channel for a while, none of this should be a surprise. But what's frustrating here is that there's still so many people who don't see Harry and Meghan having any influence here in the United States, when in reality, they are part of this engine with this NGO in getting these laws passed through. So while we're all distracted with the bullshit, the son of the king, who is a direct descendant of King George III, is helping to erode the United States Constitution. According to an investigation by Effort, which I, by the way, showed you in that video 6 days ago, 5Rights had involvement in at least 42 bills across 18 U.S. states, 11 of which the investigation recorded as becoming law. Its evidence ranges from direct sponsorship and lobbying to testimony, bill-specific advocacy, and support through allied coalitions, like with the Archwell Fugazi Public Charity, ISD, and the CCDH. At the center of the model lies an unavoidable question. If children and adults are to be treated differently online, how does a website know which is which? Increasingly, the answer is age assurance. 5Rights grew largely out of Kidron's personal campaigning. Before entering politics, she spent around 3 decades as a film director. She entered the House of Lords as a life peer in 2012 and sits as a crossbencher rather than representing a political party. According to 5Rights, the project began as a campaign in 2012 after Kidron started investigating children's relationship with technology. She published the original 5Rights framework the following year, arguing that children's existing rights should apply equally in the digital environment. The campaign was formally established as the 5Rights Foundation in 2018. The original framework asserted 5 principles: children's rights to remove material they had created, know how their information was being used, receive safety and support, make informed use of technology, and receive digital literacy education. The organization now describes its mission more broadly in terms of 5 rights. Privacy, Safety, Development Agency and Participation. FFO has previously exposed how digital literacy curricula have smuggled ideological pro-censorship lessons into American schools under the guise of keeping kids safe online. Now, over the years, we have talked a lot about how Harry and Meghan constantly prey on the youth. And remember, in the very beginning, during the engagement interview, where Harry's like, yeah, their work in this new chapter together was going to show the young people the right way of seeing the world. Like, who says that? Unless you're trying to indoctrinate them, which is exactly what has been going on here and why the world right now is so upside down with this lunacy of the left. Further on, it says 5Rights describes itself as an internationally active non-governmental charitable organization with offices in London and Brussels. What else is out there in Brussels? Oh, NATO and the EU. How convenient. Its American operation is run as a joint project with Reset. Now that explains why Archwell is aligned with Reset. While its wider work extends through Europe, Africa, Asia, Latin America, and international institutions. Oh, you mean like the World Health Organization? Its activities include lobbying and advocacy, research, monitoring companies for regulatory compliance, developing technical standards and certification systems, and youth campaigning. It also jointly operates the Digital Futures for Children Research Center with the London School of Economics. The organization's influence extends well beyond national governments. Kidron chaired the drafting committee that supported the UN Committee on the Rights of the Child's General Comment number 25 on children's rights in the digital environment, while 5Rights says its work has influenced policy in countries including Rwanda and international standards developed with the IEEE. Its latest accounts underlining the scale of the operation for the year ending March 2025, 5Rights reported income of £1.8 million, including £1.7 million in grants and donations, with £1.4 million of expenditure. Well, I'd like to know who the donors are here. Anyway, its current executive director, Leanda Barrington-Leach, previously worked for the European External Action Service, where 5Rights says she advised the Secretary General on strategic communications and the fight against disinformation. Former NSPCC Chief Executive Sir Peter Wanless became chairman in 2025, while Kidron moved into the role of founder and honorary president. Now, if you had a chance to watch the video that I did about Sophie being the patron of the NSPCC, and just so happens she's championing the same cause that Meghan Markle is championing on keeping the kids safe online. Meanwhile, the history of the NSPCC has been quite murky when it comes to so-called taking advantage of children and connections to Sleazy E, if you know what I mean. The way that I see this and what they're doing here is really a way to protect the pedophiles, not so much the children. As FFO has revealed, exerting influence, the design of platforms, as opposed to just content moderation policies, has become a key goal of pro-censorship nonprofits. So now do you understand why Harry and Meghan are so obsessed with redesigning the online space? It's because they lost all control once Elon Musk bought over Twitter. Because prior to that, before anybody knew what the governments were doing and colluding with the social media companies, they had control of who got to speak and who didn't. And this should piss everybody off, because what right did those two have to take away other people's voices when they had no right to do so in the first place? But because they didn't like people criticizing them or commenting on the lies that they were putting out there into the public domain to purposely deceive and manipulate the public? Yeah, they keep talking about the mental health of these kids, but what about the adults that Harry and Meghan abused? What about their mental health? I mean, nobody's talking about lawsuits for the adults. Maybe we should sue the platforms after everything that we've gone through, especially since Harry and Meghan and their cabal of friends had been colluding with the social media companies. Maybe that could be a route that we could take. Finishing up this article at the bottom where it says research published through 5Rights states that age assurance can include age estimation, age verification, and behavioral detection designed to judge whether a user falls within the age range they claim. It acknowledges that such methods can create data protection risks through excessive or intrusive collection. Technical material associated with 5Rights and IEEE defines age verification as using physical identifiers or verified sources of identification, while age estimation systems can analyze behavioral and environmental data, how somebody interacts with a device, or other characteristics. A 5Rights parliamentary briefing has gone further, listing potential age estimation signals, including gait, voice, facial features, and keystroke dynamics. 5Rights argues that privacy-preserving approaches are possible and notes that companies could avoid identifying ages altogether by simply applying child-friendly protections to every user. But that presents companies with a choice: either apply children's restrictions to adults as well, or establish which users are children. Once legislation requires different online experiences depending upon age, there is inevitably demand for an infrastructure capable of sorting users accordingly. The issue is therefore broader than whether someone literally uploads a passport. A system can preserve a user's name while still requiring him to prove or establish an attribute about his identity before accessing lawful material. This is why age assurance legislation increasingly overlaps with the wider debate over digital identity and online anonymity. 5Rights views the transformation as necessary to give children the protection to which it believes they are entitled. Its critics see something else: the gradual replacement of an internet where adults can access lawful material anonymously with one in which users increasingly have to establish what they are before they can enter. After Britain pioneered that regulatory model, 5Rights is now attempting to make it an American one too. How do you all feel that Harry and Meghan and their influence is responsible for this? Seriously, how does it make you feel? Two evil, corrupted human beings being responsible for taking away your privacy and your ability to freely be on the web. And this is what I don't understand. Why is this not making the news? Like, this today just boggles my mind. Lee Cohen, who's from the United States, commenting on the royal family, he writes, while other journalists push the reconciliation narrative, I never will. Harry is dangerous, full stop. I have deep respect for the crown and want to see it thrive forever. Harry is a threat to that. Well, I respond back saying, why are you not seeing what this ginger fool was doing here in the United States to Americans? Harry is being brought back home because his seditious mission has been under scrutiny here in the United States. Harry is more a danger here to America than to the crown. Who do you think gave the blessing to send him here in the first place? Brexit is a lie. They lied to everyone. And he writes back, oh, really? How fascinating. Okay. I mean, am I the only American who thinks that this is serious and what's going on? We have a direct descendant to King George III here on U.S. soil who is helping to undo what we fought to get away from. Why is this not registering with others? Like, am I crazy to be thinking this is outrageous and it's being allowed here? Like, why is it being allowed? I don't know if Lee Cohen is being facetious here or he genuinely doesn't know anything about this, but, if you're on X, please let him know what Harry and Meghan have done to us, especially the Americans. As his profile says, he's some sort of columnist, royal and foreign policy commentary. Like, this is right up this guy's alley. Why won't he touch it? I don't understand how you could be USA and UK first simultaneously. If you're an American, you should be America first, especially if your First Amendment right is currently under threat by the same institution that you're currently worshiping. I don't understand this kind of patriotism. Like, I wonder how this guy would feel as a journalist had Harry and Meghan censored him and got him deplatformed and demonetized. I don't remember this guy being around when we were all being attacked and abused online, but I could be wrong. He could have been lurking in the shadows and now all of a sudden coming out to support the royal family since Operation Bring Harry Home is underway. Or maybe he really doesn't know and perhaps maybe it's time for some of us to catch him up to speed. So if you're on X, let him know what's up. Now, do you see why this is so exhausting? Like, I've been screaming for the last several years at the top of my lungs, trying to sound the alarm to prevent some of what's going on right now. We all know that anything that Harry and Meghan's name is attached to gets global recognition. There just needs to be one news station to report on this. That's all we need to blow this wide open. We can't forget the nightmare these fucking people put us through during a very dark period in time, and we're just going to sweep it under the rug? You mean all of that abuse that Yankee Wally went through was for nothing? We all know that our voices have been restricted. So it really is going to depend on all of you guys to share this information and get it out there, because YouTube is not going to do it. And no amount of clicking the hype button or thinking that the hype button is going to do something is going to get this message out there. Save your hypes for another channel that's not impacted by what Harry and Meghan did to us. I ask you to please share this information and tell people that we have to start focusing on some of this stuff that nobody's talking about, because I don't think the journalists are going to touch it. We can try and see if there's journalists here that will touch it, but at this point, you see what I'm up against. Like, I would have thought that the Foundation for Freedom Online would have picked up on this, but I'm shocked that Harry's name wasn't mentioned in this article when Harry and Meghan are closely tied to the 5Rights Foundation. I mean, we've been going over every step that they make with 5Rights. Why aren't we putting this together? And I think a lot of this has to do with getting more people to talk about it. So I'm going to task all of you to just tell one person, if you can, share with them what's happening here, because this affects everybody. Your voice, my voice. I mean, think about the damage during COVID in censoring voices and how many people were injured or died as a result of them holding back information.
When it comes to vaccines, vaccine hesitancy, videos that cause a public health risk, where do you want to see YouTube do better?
Well, first of all, we've taken responsibility very seriously. It's been one of my top priorities, and with regard to COVID and with regard to vaccines, that has been a top priority for us. And we have a number of different ways that we address that. So first of all, we want to make sure that if there's information that violates our policies, we came up with 10 different policies around COVID. Then if that's a violation of policies, then that's something that we'll remove. We removed over 1 million videos associated with COVID.
Have you talked to the Biden administration at all about vaccine hesitancy or vaccine misinformation?
Well, we did an event actually with the Biden administration, including President Biden himself, with a number of creators, Fauci as well.
I wonder if there's anything that you see in the way that anti-vaxxers behave on the platform, if there are any data or insights there that could be helpful to people understanding where they're coming from.
I mean, we try to understand what are the different ways that we can break through. So we talked about in this campaign that we did about getting back to the things that you love. So what we really tried to do was get not just from the experts, but also people that were not experts, but who were explaining, like, why did they take the vaccine? Why was that relevant for them? And what was their thought process?
I mean, it's very evil. And the fact that they want to control information, I mean, honestly, does anybody trust Harry and Meghan and their friends to be the ones deciding how the online space can function? No. Never forget how they suppressed information leading up to the 2020 election from the American people. Harry and Meghan and their cabal of friends, Chris Krebs, Renee DiResta, Kate Starbird, and all these entities that you see in front of you working together to deceive, manipulate, and influence our 2020 election. It's these people that stole 2020 from us. Megxit is a giant lie, and I've shown you why I think that. You don't have to believe me. The evidence is there, though. Anyhow, that's all I gotta say. Thought I'd bring this real quick video to you. Definitely let me know your thoughts below. As always, I will be back with more content, but until then, please be safe, and I'll talk to you later. Bye!
It was such a fraud.